Hi guys, today we're going to show you a quick and easy way to make bone broth. So you can do this for beef, bison, lamb. Today we actually have some bison marrow bones here, but I would do the exact same process whether I was doing beef, bison, or lamb bones. So I have all these here. If you've never done this before, you could go to a butcher and ask them for soup bones, and they'll give you probably a combination of knuckles and other things. You want to make sure that you have some marrow bones in here as well, because it gives it some good gelatin in it. This is actually a pack of bison bones that we got from Riffle Farms out in West Virginia, and these are all marrow bones, so this is going to be super gelatinous. But you can ask a butcher, you could go to a farmer's market, go to a local farm and ask them just for some soup bones, and they'll give you a good combination of these things. So what I'm going to do first is take some olive oil, or you could use some avocado oil, and I'm going to just put a little bit on these bones, coat them with it, and then I'm going to pop this in the oven at 300 for about 30 minutes. We've done it with and without roasting, and we find that the flavor is just much better if you roast them first. It does take a little extra time, but I think it's worth that time putting it in ahead of time. So coat it with a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, pop in the oven, 300 degrees for about 30 minutes, and then we'll check back in. All right, you guys, this was in the oven for 30 minutes at 300. It looks beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these bones into my pot here. I have a lot of other stuff I'm gonna add. I'll show you what I put in there. And I know everybody probably does it a little bit different, but this is just how we like to do the broth in our house. So try it this way and see if you like it. And let us know what you put in your beef or lamb or bison broth. So I'm gonna put all these bones in here, like I said, and then again, as always, I'm gonna do celery, carrots, and onion. I just cut up half an onion, and then the peels and all are going right in there. Cut up half a carrot. Celery, when I cut it up, the ends of it that I'm not gonna use, I just put it in a bag in the freezer and save that, because I'm not gonna eat this in my soup, but it's gonna add flavor to the broth. You just wanna make sure that you don't put too much of it, because the ends of it are actually stronger of a flavor than the actual stem. I have that. I'm gonna throw in a couple bay leaves. Delicious. This is our secret ingredient, star anise. If you've never used these, it smells so good. So I'm just gonna toss a couple of those in there. It tastes a little bit like licorice, or smells a little bit like licorice. And yeah, they're really good. So if you've not tried those in your broth before, I don't like it in chicken broth, but I like it in beef. I've never actually made bison broth before, but this is my first time. I'm sure it's gonna be delicious, and I've done it in lamb before. So star anise, these are allspice berries. I'm just gonna toss a couple of those in there. It's gonna be delicious. Peppercorns. About a tablespoon of salt. I don't do it completely full, and then I'm going to fill this up with cold water. I'm gonna try to arrange this in here so that it's pretty level, because when I fill this up with water, I wanna just cover everything. So if I have something kind of poking out at the top, that means that there's going to be too much water in it. So I'm going to try to shimmy everything around so that it is pretty equal at the top. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but that looks pretty good to me. So when I put this cold water in here, I'm not going to fill it to the tippy top of my pot. I'm just going to barely cover the bones. I'm going to start with cold water. Yeah, I'm gonna even stop it there, even though that's peeking out the top a little bit. It'll kind of crumble up a little. I don't want to put too much water. This might even be a little too much for me, but I'm gonna put this on my burner. The last thing I'm gonna do is add a little bit of acid. So when I do my chicken broth, I put a splash of ACV. When I do beef broth, or when I've done lamb broth, I do a splash of red wine. So I'm gonna put a splash of red wine in there. So that should help to draw the minerals out of the bones. Then I'm going to turn this on low. I'm not gonna let this get to a boil. I like it to just get to a simmer, and I'll leave this here for about 18 hours. I find that if I let it get to a boil, I lose a lot of broth and it just doesn't turn out as flavorful. So try not to let it get to a boil. Keep your eye on it. Try to get it just to that simmer, and then we'll check back in 18 hours. Hey guys, so it hasn't been 18 hours yet, but there's something else that I wanted to let you know about before we went any further. So typically when you do beef bones, there's gonna be this layer of stuff, this scum that comes to the top of it that you're going to want to scrape off. But I've never done bison bones before. That's what we have in here. And I'm noticing there's really not a lot of stuff to scrape off. I mean, there's a few bubbles here and there, but really there's not much for me to have to scrape off here. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you really do that with the beef bones. If you do have any sort of brown stuff that comes to the top, you wanna scrape it off and get rid of it. It's not gonna taste very good. So it'll improve the flavor of your broth. You don't wanna mix that in, but I don't have a lot in here. These bones are amazing. So you can also notice that this is my simmer. It's a really low simmer. This is what I'm looking for. So it took me a while to get there. I actually bumped the temperature up a little bit when I was in here, paid really close attention to it. I didn't want to let it get too hot. And then I really just keep it on the lowest possible setting I can keep it on while it's keeping that low, really low simmer. So this is the goal, super low simmer. That's what I like.
Morning guys, how y'all doing? So it has been 18 hours, right? We did this around lunchtime yesterday, and now it has been on the stove since then, and it's the next morning now. So Rachel's upstairs getting ready for work. I am gonna pour this, I'm gonna strain this into this colander here, and then I'll pour it from the bowl into our jars for storing. I'll show you the marrow that's in here too. You guys ever try to eat bone marrow? It's an interesting consistency. I can get some out for you. All right, see that? That's that stuff that's like inside the bones. It definitely tastes funky. I kind of like it. I can't just eat too much of it, but I have to save it and put it into pate that we make with beef liver or other animal livers. Anyway, so this is now compost, chicken food, and then we gotta get this stuff into our jars. That's it. There you go. So Rachel might have something more to say about this, but we're gonna let this sit here, cool down for a little bit before we put it in the fridge, and I think she's gonna make some chili with this. So that's how you make broth. That's how you make bison bone broth. Hope you guys liked it. Let us know in the comment section what kind of broth y'all are making, and thanks so much for watching. Take care.